Peregrine Greaves, solo GM. This video is going to focus on the exotic boots Peregrine Greaves and whether you should use these boots in endgame content. The question revolving around that is depends on what you're exactly doing in endgame and exactly what the activity is that you're doing. So you saw there we're just doing massive damage to our shoulder charge ability. So I'm going to read out on Destiny Item Manager on exactly what these exotic boots do and the percentages and stuff, because it's interesting. Peregrine Greaves got a buff a couple of months ago, and I have used them on and off. Anyways, it states all shoulder charge abilities, seismic strike, hammer strike, or shield bash deal bonus damage when activated in the air. Damaging mini bosses, tormentors, or champions with your shoulder charge refunds your melee. Provides a small benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of all weapons. Okay, so that's Destiny's description. Here's the Community Insights description, which is far better. Passively grants 20 airborne effectiveness. Grants Peregrine Greaves strike after sprinting for 2 seconds and being airborne for 0.5 seconds. Buff is removed upon touching the ground. Peregrine strike increases the impact damage of shoulder charge abilities by 225%. Yep. And then against mini bosses, including champions and tormentors, the buff is increased by 1,000% and refunds melee ability charge on hit, not kill, it's hit. Provides no benefit when hitting frozen enemies. That's kind of weird. So that's what it does, right? It's a different thing about how you would use it in endgame, right? And how you go about doing that. So what we're concerned with, it's not the 225% buff, because we're not going to be really using it on red bars and orange bars and stuff. We're using it on champs. This is a champ killer exotic, in my opinion. That's what it does well, and that's what we're going to use it for. So you need to get used to how to use it. It's quite difficult, I'll be honest, like at first. But once you get to the hang of it, my recommendation is this. Start running for a second or two, maybe a second, then jump up in the air, right? Give yourself enough time to rotate your camera, because you might run past the champ because you're quick on a Titan. So you want to rotate your camera type thing and then shoulder charge. There's a lot of melee stickiness, okay? There's a lot of aim assist, melee aim assist in Destiny 2 on PC and controller, that you'll hit the champ. Chances are you will. But you just need to get that timing down, that 2-second timer that it states. You need to get that down. And then you're going to do 1,000% increased damage. But you can do even more than 1,000% because there's Void, Arc, and Solar. So I'll get to the numbers. I'll come back to the numbers again in a minute, but I just want to do a comment on this first phase of the elevator. So for the first phase of the elevator, scan Ghost. Get over to the spawn as quickly as you can. Heal and nade. Spam machine gun with incandescent. Right, this will grant you the restoration. It means you can survive easily. Incandescent will kill all the scions for you, or should most of them. Go to a tower. Get an orb and throw the orb as quickly as you can. We're going to use a bit more LMG to take down the phalanx. Notice the position. We didn't move from this pillar because it's a piece of cover, right? And it makes the ads not be super aggroed on you. They're in like a search mode where they know you're there. They're just wanting to see line of sight. They're needing line of sight. We'll use our shoulder charge here on this mini boss or this yellow bar. We didn't get a refund, so he's a named boss as well. So I'm thinking we should be getting that back. But like I said, we've got this on for champ. It's a champ killer. That's what these exotic boots are. And you know, there is times you're going to lose the melee. It's fine because it's not like every room you're killing 10 champions. You know, it's a couple of champions here and there. Chances are you've got your melee back before you encounter another champion. Especially, I mean, you don't even need T10 strength. Some people have suggested using Monte Carlo with it, and that's a nerf. The reason why Monte Carlo would be a nerf is that, yes, your melee uptime, percentage-wise, could mean that you could spam the melee even more, but the weakness is that you've got a damn auto rifle on in a GM. Auto rifles aren't strong in GMs. They never have been. There's only one strong auto rifle in GMs, and that's Sweet Business. Sweet Business is super strong this season. You want to try it out, actually. I seen a guy do a solo GM on this with Sweet Business. He was absolutely wrecking everything. And I know what Sweet Business can do in GMs. It's literally the best auto rifle in the game for GMs, especially on a Titan with Actium War rigs. And that also got a buff as well recently. Might be in the last 6 months. I can't mind exactly when that was. So our goal right now is to take down all shields of all VIP targets. Do some map rotation. Be sure not to be killed by the phalanxes, of course. We're going to pop a super when all shields are down. We want to maximize damage to all these targets with the super. This saves on ammo. The better you are with your Roman supers, the better you are going to be for ammo, and the safer things will be. Think about it like this. Once you pop that super, look at that nice one-shot kill there. Once you pop your super, if there's any idle time where you're not dealing damage to a boss, you have wasted a certain percentage of your super. So say you pop a super on one of the phalanxes, you kill him, but by the time you get to the next phalanx, he's on the other side of the map. You've just wasted half of your super. All because of you and your positioning. And I see a lot of people will pop the supers like in the wrong spot. It's the same as what people say about PvP when people pop supers like on top of enemies and they get killed. You know, I know it's a different application in PvP, but it's the same goes in for PvE for GMs, especially GMs. Popping a super in the right time where all the ads converge on you is perfect. Because you're going to melt them all, and there's lots of times this happens in Corrupted where you can really maximize your Roman super damage output. We're using Hammer of Soul. We're not using the Spin to Win super. The reason for that is because it's more mobile. Hammer of Soul is more mobile, and this GM requires a bit more mobility. In a lot of other things, like you saw me using the Whisper mission, the Spin to Win, that was perfect in there. Because the Spin to Win one does far more damage than this. But in GMs, when you need to be a bit more mobile and stuff, this one's better. For the mobility, but the other one does more damage. Definitely. But you're not going to use that Spin to Win one on the boss. On Cydia. You would use it on champs and it would be good for that, but we've got a Peregrine Greaves on for that. We're going to kill him anyways. So notice the problem with this little encounter here with us using the boots. So it's good and all that we've got them on, but we can't use them because the encounter that we're faced with, we're funneled into one room, and to get access to that champ, we need to kill the ads. Because if we just go in there, stop the champ and go guns blazing and try to melee the champ, the rest of the ads will clean me up. They will kill me as I kill the champ. There will be a trade. So this is where Peregrine Greaves has weakness. It's where you can't get access to a champ to shoulder charge him because your usage of the exotic went down to flat 0. So that's what I'm saying about there is use. It's definitely within the meta, but only occasionally. So it's really good in lost sectors because lost sectors, master lost sectors that is, because they are condensed areas. They're really good for like getting a shoulder charge on a champ and then hiding, because you always want an exit strategy with these boots. So these boots, I'll say it, are for more advanced Titan mains. If you're a Titan main and you're not really good on the Titan, these aren't for you. They're more for advanced players who have a bit more they've maybe played the game longer than what some other people have, and they have an idea of how to use them in the right application. These aren't novice exotics. A good example of a novice exotic for the Titan is Lori Splendor. It's a novice exotic because it has a buff. The way it works, it'll work for you. There's nothing that you need to do. Once you get one shot, it'll work. Not to say that Splendors are bad. You can use them aggressively as well. But I'm just saying, Titan. Somebody who's just made a Titan this week, you should be using Splendor. You should be using Splendor for weeks, and I mean weeks. Really get to grips with the Solar Titan, use it, and then go on to other exotics like Path of the Burning Steppes, Symphoseps, and Peregrine Greaves when you're up against champs, and there's application to use it. In Corrupted, there is application to use it, but the only reason why I can get away with that is because I understand how to bait champs. You've really got to understand, like this is an example of me baiting a champ right here. Right, so this Unstoppable, he's sort of aggroed on me, but he's not pushing. He's starting to push now though. So I want to do some chip damage. What I mean by that is do a little bit. 10 to 20%, that's what chip damage means. Then we'll wait for stun up the stairs. I wasn't sure if he was popping. He did push. Luckily we've got the stun in time. And then we're going to do our Peregrine Greaves strike. Generally, if they're weak enough, you can finish them, right? On solar at least. Now, there's obviously 3 different elements that Peregrine Strike covers: Arc, Solar, Void. Now there'll be people saying to me, all right, well, which one does the most damage? The one that does the most damage, as far as I'm aware, is Void Titan with Shield Bash with Offensive Bulwark. Because when you have an overshield, you do increased melee damage. I think that's how it works. So basically, that's going to do more damage than a Solar Titan, even with Roaring Flames times 3. I think Roaring Flames times 3, 73%. And then an Arc Titan with the right setup does 75% more. I'm just going from Reddit, by the way. This is what numbers are on Reddit. Arc Titan, if everything's procced properly on there, you'll do 75% more. And then, as I say, 100% on the Void Titan. So the Solar Titan has the least amount of damage out of them, but when you get the Peregrine Greaves buff, you get 1,000% flat buff to champs. So that right away in itself is massive. And the reason why we're on Solar Titan is because of its use in this GM. And it's the fact that Solar Surge is on. If Solar Surge wasn't on, I maybe, like if it was Arc Surge, I would have definitely went Arc Titan. Oh, sorry, Void Surge. If it was Void Surge, I would have went Void Titan and popped my Bastion Barricade, then go in for the Solar Charge. I would have done that. But there are other reasons why we had Solar on. So we can't just automatically say, right, well, Void does the most melee damage, so we'll go on Void. Yeah, but also you have a bad class. Void Titan's not in a good spot at the minute. So on one hand, yeah, your melee ability would do more, but your super will be rubbish, and the neutral game's not that good. Only good on a Heart of Inmost Light Titan on Void. So we've got Revitalize and Blast as well this season. So it was still worth it for me to go on Solar because we can debuff the champ. So even if we don't kill him with that Solar Charge, we can clean him up with whatever we're using at that time. So this little section is a little slow because we're dealing with these Shriekers. So we can poison them while they're immune and then open them up, and that does increase damage. So we are pre-prepping our damage against Shriekers, which is Le Monarque's strength. It's good for that, and it's good for long-range GMs. Any GMs where there's like overloads in them, Le Monarque's like one of the best top 5 in the game weapons. And it does decent damage. Now, I could have ran a solar bow, so an exotic solar bow that is. I could have ran Tiku's Divination, Hierarchy of Needs. Now, I like Taiku's, but you've saw me use Taiku's in the past, so I don't need to sort of repeat the Taiku's gameplay to you. You've probably seen that. Le Monarque, you've seen me use Le Monarque as well, but I haven't used Le Monarque in a long time, I feel as though. So, because we're in a solo season. So that's another reason why I wanted to use Monarque. Not that it's best in slot, it's not. I'm not saying it is. I think Malfeasance is, to be honest, for this GM. But it's really good. The one thing is not going to give me restoration, but it does have unrelenting. So I'll get health regen now and then, and I'll confirm it on tankier enemies. Unrelenting procs differently on like VIPs and stuff. So we've got the Shriekers, that's easy. We're now on to the Realm section. So we're going to spawn in the stuff, and we're going to use the mini exploit to make sure that we confirm unstoppable champ kill. The reason why we do this is because if you allow yourself to be teleported, which is most people, because they won't know about this, most people. If you allow yourself to be teleported, what happens is if you don't kill the unstoppable champion in time, right, he then keeps respawning on the stairs at the back of the map, making him difficult to be killed. So this is just good, doing this. We'll get a stop here on the unstoppable, because now he's curious. We're also head glitching the champ. This is where the machine gun didn't do that good for us. A rocket would have been better. It would have been a faster run with a rocket, but the machine gun has more strengths when we get to the boss, the final boss. Whereas a rocket would have a better time getting to the boss. But what's more important? Completing the boss fight with a good loadout, or getting to the boss quicker? For the average player, it's more important to have a better loadout for the boss fight than it is getting to the boss. Because guess what? If you get to the boss and then you die at the boss, then your time is wasted. So a machine gun's overall better for most players. I feel as though if you're on a solo subclass, that is. If you're on a solo subclass, other classes it's different because you're not rocking restoration. So there might not be a need for the machine gun. There might be a need for something like forbearance. Forbearance does really well in corrupted. Say like on Arc Hunter, forbearance, use it. That's good because you don't need an overload weapon. So a good hunter build, malfeasance, forbearance, and then a rocket. You know, that's a good loadout. But like on a solo subclass, generally you may as well use a machine gun because there is some critical moments in corrupted where you can wipe, and I'm trying to protect your time. See, what you need to realize with runs like this, I'm trying to protect the viewer's time. Okay? So that if you put on the right stuff and you follow the steps in the video, then you shouldn't be too far adrift. Now, if you're completely new to solo, then you will be. You'll need to practice and practice and practice. It might take you 6 months, honestly, to be half decent at this game. But like for people who have played for years and step into the solo realm, then, you know, you lot can do this. Veteran players who have not soloed but want to solo now, they can do this as long as they put on and follow the steps that I say. If you follow the steps, there's not a lot of skill in there, really. It just means that your run might be slower because of not being acquainted to the solo gameplay loop, if it's something that you haven't done before. To advanced players, they then limit themselves if they follow some of my loadouts, because some of my loadouts would hinder a speedrunner. It would be no good to them because they couldn't speedrun with it. Like the loadout that I've got on right now is not a good speedrun loadout. Alright, but if you are able to speedrun a solo GM, then chances are loot is not a problem to you. Only RNG is a problem, as in getting the rolls that you want on stuff, or something that you're farming for. That's the problem to a speedrunner. But certainly not completion. Whereas to a casual player, the problem is not trying to speedrun. They can't even get a damn clear to start with. Never mind trying speedrunning it. So for those players, right, they're not concerned with a fast run. They're concerned with the completion. These loadouts that I do generally on GMs, not all of them, but some of them, are based on you getting that completion to guaranteed almost, providing that you follow the steps. Because enemy AI, there is randomness with it. to a degree, but there's patterns in the enemy AI with PvE. So we'll use a super here because we didn't proc our Peregrine Greaves properly there, but we did get it back. I'm going to use a super here, which we will get some stuns because of the Scorch stacks stacking up, which ignites them. We'll get another stun here behind cover. We'll go in with the shield charge. I was confident on that, even though the second unstop was going to boop us back. Because of forward momentum from the shoulder strike, this stops that, so it negates the damage. We'll get a stun here. We'll do the same thing, run around, turn the camera, boom, dead. So that little gameplay loop of the last 30 seconds is a good example of why Peregrine Greaves is really good for close quarter builds. If the map is close quarters, you can use this. That's why I'm saying, like in Lost Sectors, it's probably one of the best Titan builds in the game. Right? Speedrun and master Lost Sectors. Remember, they've made changes yesterday. The Rahul thing, farming and focus and engrams. Well, you can farm Lost Sectors in final shape for exotic engrams. Well, I think this is going to be a good Titan Lost Sector build for farming exotic engrams. That's what I think about it. I think in certain GMs it has application as well. I think it would be good in Glassware. I would actually be interested to see what this would do to Glassware. Would it one-shot a Riven? Because even the red bar Rivens are really tanky. They're like champs anyways. So I'm like trying to think in my mind, would it? Well, 1000% on top of your damage should one-shot them, right? If it one-shots a Riven, that's actually really good. But I've been craving like other GMs. I really have been craving, you know, maybe like Proven Grounds. I've been craving wanting to play that a little bit. Definitely Glassware. I've been craving Glassware so bad. It might be my favourite GM in the game, as in what's in the game. I'm not talking Sunset Strikes. I'm just talking about the GMs that are in the game now. I think Glassware is my favourite because it's just massively made. I think Corrupted's alright. I said in the last video, I think it's alright, but I think it's good. It's good, but it's just the fact that we've been playing these same GMs, right, for ages now, because it's an extended long season. I just wish we'd Into the Light that they just maybe... They didn't have to give us a fresh seal. All they had to do is just change the GM rotation to another one. They didn't, you know, because that's why they didn't do it, because it means they've got to refresh the Conqueror seal and all that stuff, and I bet they couldn't be bothered to do that. I'm not bothered about that. I've gilded Conqueror more than enough. What I was just wanting to crave for with Into the Light update is more GMs. They should have just freshened them up and give us 6 random ones. Pick them out of a hat. That's what they do anyways, don't they? They honestly, in the studios, that's what they do. They write all the lists in a hat, they jumble the hat up, and then some girl or guy picks out the name. Oh, look at this. Oh, drats. It's Inverted Spire. That's what they do. Although saying that, we haven't Inverted Spire for ages either. But honestly, like, that's all they needed to do. I don't think that takes long. It takes 10 minutes to do that. Then get it in the game. 6 fresh new GMs for Into the Light. Which is not, it's not just a 2-week thing, all right? It's till June, so it was long enough to put, you know, a few GMs in, and you know that would have been it. So that's one thing that I've been disappointed with the Into the Light update. Another thing that I'm disappointed with it a little bit, although it is really good and it's free to play, is that the 0 hour and the Whisper missions have been time gated too long, and it sort of sank the goodness out of it a little bit for me as a player, because that was, I know we've just gotten Pantheon and stuff, but really that was what I was looking forward to the most, is the Whisper Reprisal, Craft and Whisper, and 0 hour and Craft and Outbreak. Making us wait the amount of time they have, like, there's no reason why they couldn't have just give us 0 hour and Whisper back to back. I don't see why they could have done that, or, you know, at least have it by now. But I know they've made it to such a point that you're getting something new every week. Like this week was Pantheon, Whisper was 3 weeks, it was a 3-week rotation. They really are padding it out too much. You know, I don't care if we're not playing much, like before Final Shape. in terms of if there's nothing new, that's fine because you're getting a new expansion coming up soon. So who's bothered about the 2 weeks before final shape? I'm not. We're bounty prepping anyways. We're all bounty prepping. So I feel like that's my biggest disappointment with it. Onslaught's good, obviously. Legend Onslaught's good. I'm getting a lot of bad luck with the random rolls, but that's just RNG. It's random number generator. It just all depends. I'm not getting a lot of good rolls at all. Not the rolls that I want. Because with the brave weapons, a lot of them are make or break. If I'm being honest, it really is make or break. Like Hammerhead, if you get a bad Hammerhead roll for PvE, forget about it. Don't use it. It's rubbish. But whereas if you get a really good roll of it, it's very unique. Mountaintop, there's a lot of good rolls on that. That is a weapon that you can get an 8 out of 10 roll and you still have fun with it. So that's been a positive. But weapons like Midnight Coupe, Blast Furnace, they need the correct rolls, especially for a player like me. For what I do, I need the correct roll in the gun, and I'm just not getting them. Like, I would love to get the rolls that I'm thinking of with Blast Furnace, Kinetic Tremors, Frenzy, Midnight Coupe, Kinetic Tremors, Explosive Head, that sort of stuff. I'm just not getting the perks to make video content on. And that might require an hour to farm or 10 hours to farm. So I wish they had brought some sort of mechanic with the Onslaught activity where you could farm the perks a little bit and the masterworks like what Menagerie did. That would have topped off the event, because even though you can still get lots of rolls and farm Onslaught, it's still sort of like not ideal in my opinion. They want to give us the feel of farm and random rolls still, but we still had that with Menagerie to a degree, but you could do extra things with the cup to manipulate the rolls on the guns, and I wanted some new item, and I think that would have worked well application for Onslaught with the very nature of it, of us trying to farm for a gun. I'm not saying that I don't think I should be deserved a god roll, I need to earn it, etc. Yeah, I agree with that also. I shouldn't be just giving it, but it comes to the point where by the time the event's over, you might not get the shiny weapon that you wanted for all the rolls. And a lot of the answer that they'll have is, well, you're not meant to get them all. And I get that, but I also I need the rolls now. I don't need them next September. I need them now. It's of no use to me if I get the god roll in September. So that was just a little complaint from me. But overall, the Interlight update's really good, I think. So with this Overlord Champion, he does fall off map. If you saw the previous video, I've explained how that works. So the Overlord Champion up above is not coded to stand on that island. Okay? Behind the curtain, he's not coded to stand on that island. He doesn't understand that he's going to fall to his death. I couldn't be bothered waiting for that, so I just Monarched him. Alright? If you are going to wait for him to fall off map, make sure you do chip damage to the champ just before he falls off. If you don't do this, you will not get kill credit and you will not get platinum rank. This is very important that you take note of that. Alright? So you've got two possibilities. Either let him fall off or kill him. I've got the Monarque on, which is favourable to overload damage from range. That's what Le Monarque's mainly, like, it's best in slot for that category. Doing overload damage from range, not relying on artifact mods. There's no artifact mods for Le Monarque. As in, it's got overload intrinsic to it. So it will always be of good use to us in endgame, always. It's one of my favourite bows in the game. I do prefer it to Hierarchy of Needs, if I'm being honest. I've tried to use Hierarchy of Needs, and there's a massive weakness to the weapon. The amount of damage it does is huge, right? But what I find is that you're stuck in place with the weapon. So once you make a ring, you've committed to that area, which is fine in some GMs. But Taiku's doesn't have this penalty of moving, because you can still move and it works no matter where, anywhere. It doesn't work with Solar 3.0 verbs. That's a Bungie problem, not our problem. It still works really well. So for that reason alone, I prefer Tiku's, because I can move where I want to, and I'm not restricted to guidance rings. Alright. Hierarchy does more damage than both Lord Monarque and Tychus. It does massive damage. Again, it's all about application and you know how you want to use it. There's some people that are amazed with Hierarchy of Needs. I must admit, I'm not that good with the bow. I just haven't had a lot of good. I haven't had a lot of play time with Hierarchy. I'm just not that good with it. It's good, but as I say, there's other bows that meet my play style a little better. Tychus does. Le Monarque definitely does gel with me a bit more than Hierarchy. But not to say I'll never use Hierarchy in a GM. I will. I'm just saying that I fancy using Le Monarque in this. So we're just going to bow a lot of the critical enemies from back here before we go down. I was thinking about popping a super, but then I realised I'm not going to get my super back for the boss phase 1. And I want my super for phase 1, so I was like, well, it's not worth... every time I do a bow shot right here, okay, it just means that it's not worth a super anymore. It would have been worth using a super here if I left all the ads alive and just went down there blazing with a super. The thing about doing that is, are you going to kill all the enemies in time before your super ends? Probably not in this area. I could have then spammed machine gun, so it is possible that I could have done that. Just that because I'm using my hammer strike on the champs, it means I won't get a lot of super energy back off them. Now you're going to say, well, run hands on. Well, I ain't really need to run hands on because you don't need that many supers anyways. It's only a few supers that you need for this run. Plus, heavy ammo finder is quite important. You always want to run heavy ammo finder when you're solo in a GM. This is a very important thing. It's like the most important mod you should use on a helmet. That and a resilience mod, depending on what your resilience stat is. But those are very important. Then you want a siphon mod on. Always run a siphon mod. We'll get our shoulder charge here. It's really satisfying to use on champs, I will say that. And also, it's mimicking Melting Point from D1. People don't remember there was a ability called Melting Point where if you meleeed an enemy, you would debuff them. We're actually doing that now because of Revitalize and Blast, which is kind of funny. I think what would make people use this if they give Revitalize and Blast for free on Peregrine Greaves. If they give it Revitalize and Blast for the solar, because that would then mimic Melting Point, and they wouldn't need to call it Revitalize and Blast, they could call it Melting Point and nod to D1, and then if you're on an Arc subclass, it jolts them, and if you're on a Void subclass, it gives volatile rounds. It does volatile detonators to them. I think that would then set this exotic to like stardom if they'd done that. So phase 1 of the boss, we're going to hunker down here, use our super, because we may as well. This is just how you clear this boss really safely and easily. So we'll pop a healing aid down plus our super, so we build up restoration stacks for when we exit out of the super once, if not all the ads were killed, but they were in this instance, so that's fine. We basically got our nade back anyways after all that. So that's all the ads dead off one super, so that's really good. Void Titan wouldn't have been able to do that as good. I'm on about Sentinel Shield, Void Titan. It wouldn't have been, and if you run and bubble, then it's not doing nothing for you. It's just giving you weapons of light. We'll break down the shield for the boss, which takes 2 orbs in this case. Then we'll shoulder charge our way back to this island. Obviously, this is where you're fighting from. No super this time, but we do have plenty of heavy. Like I said earlier, we can spam heavy because of Peregrine Greaves, which is exactly what we're going to do. Got some good ignitions there with incandescent. That clears out most of the ads as well, to be honest. There's a couple of knights up, rogue knights, which they'll keep rotating between all the islands. You just want to keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on the boss as well for the boss's attack. Try not to get hit too much. Always keep an eye on your HP when you're here, just in case you sort of like, you know, forgot that you're half HP, then you get critically wounded. That can lead to deaths, stuff like that. Always keep an eye on HP and how much damage enemies do to you. So here I think I was just charging my controller because my controller was low. The last thing you want when you're playing console, at least, for your controller to run out of battery on you on a solo GM. It's happened to me countless times, and countless times I've died because of it. It's my biggest number one reason of dying in solo GMs is not keeping an eye on my controller battery. So that's all I was doing there. So now we can damage the boss freely. There's no ads. We've cleared them all. We've cleared the first 2 waves. So we can do what we want. But for Destiny Science, because you're going to say, well, what, you're using Peregrine Greaves, use it on the boss. So we're going to do just that. So look. Do you see how much damage there the boss did to us? So that's insane. So remember, this doesn't work on bosses. It's mini bosses, tormentors, champions. So it's kind of unfortunate we don't get it back there. But look at the damage we did. It wasn't that good for the risk, right? The risk to reward ratio is nowhere near there. Like, if they want to have it this way so the ads hit you so hard via their stomps, then our melee abilities, especially supercharged ones like this, should do massive damage to them. Like I'm saying, it should probably do a quarter HP to make it worth me going in like that, because I nearly died. There's no risk to reward ratio with this. It's basically too risky for little payoff. So you'll never see me shoulder charge the boss again now because of that. Because like I said, the stomps in GMs are quite severe and always have been the case. So the only sort of melee based builds that really work are Assassin's Cowl and especially Strand Titan because of Banner of War. Right, this allows us to do this, but like this type of build, it doesn't work against a boss. But again, like I said to you, it's a champ killer. That's what this is all about. It's not too much about trying to do massive boss damage with it. Same thing again, we'll just take out the ads from a range. Some of the knights will fall off map occasionally because the asteroids will hit them, which is kind of cool. It's important to not push 3 knights at once. Like if there's 3 knights firing at you, don't do that. Try and single them out a little bit. Try and take them out one by one. Always keeping an eye to your left with the boss's attack. Try and use cover as well. And Monarque makes short work of them. So I believe there's 2 knights left, so we can push up shortly. Watch for the fire, because that will melt you quick. Monarque's good for taking down shields and keeping them off. That's another thing it's good for, the tick damage. Use a bit of machine gun here, showing you the range of fixed odds. Really good range. So we've got ammo on the floor, that's good. We've also got solar holster on, so you notice I'm not loading my machine gun. I can't underrate how good holster mods are nowadays. You need to start using them. They don't work with like certain weapon types, like rocket launchers they don't work with for obvious reasons. They work well on machine guns and Parasite. Really good, so that's what I'm using in this. I'm going to take down the boss's shield, and I'm dubious on whether we could safely do enough damage to boss to run to the portal. So I didn't do it. I was dubious of that. So I was like, I'm not wasting 38 minutes for no reason. Because if we do that, where we go and try and shoulder charge the boss and pop super, we may get the boss to half HP and then run. But by the time we get to the portal, our super will have ended and the ads will kill us. That's worst case scenario, by the way. I don't know that for certain, but I think the odds of that happening are probably quite high, so I didn't do it. On Golden Gun, because it's instant damage, it was at that point it's worth your while to do a Golden Gun super. I've showed you how that works with Cecil Nighthawk on that run. So, because that's instant damage, you can run to the portal really quickly. with the Hammer of Soul, it's good damage over the course of it, but it's really slow to get all that damage out. So that's why we didn't do that. We opted just to use the super on the ads and isolate me and the boss. That's it. It's better to get rid of the ads, and that way there really isn't any DPS to be done to the boss. As in, like, there's no urgency to, like, waste heavy or do things like this, because it's just you and the boss, so you just need to do map rotation, so you can use whatever you want. It makes damage to the boss easier for people, so always focus the ads on classes like this. At least if you're on either Golden Gun Hunter or Lucky Pants Hunter with Malfeasance or Warden's Lord and Shewer, burst down, definitely worth your while to burst. On a Dawn Chorus Warlock, burst. But on certain classes that lack instant damage, then try to opt maybe using your abilities to kill the ads first instead. So we're going to push up, we're going to use Le Monarque's damage and then use LMG to kill Knight. The Overlord did start to regen, but that's fine, it's a win. Once the Knight is killed, it's a win, because we can then do this. Shoulder charge, and then if we need to finish it, we can. We've got Proximity Ward on. A class piece mod which gives us an overshield on finisher, which is perfect for this. So on a Peregrine Greave Titan, use a prox ward. I think it's totally worth doing that. Use a bit of LMG here again to melt down these knights. We want to speed up this bit a little bit if we can, because this always slows down the run, the island bit. Once knight's taken down, the boss pushes back, of course. There's a champ on this next island. We'll try and focus the two snipers first and the knight though. Once you do this though, the unstoppable champ won't push. That's fine, because as I say, because of our melee build, we can almost one-shot him anyways. So when we go up there, it's not too bad. Knight's about one shot now, so we can push up once boss teleports. We're going to have a look on this platform to see if we can get an early stun. Sometimes you can, but the unstoppable champ's actually just completely de-aggroed behind cover. So we'll just push up anyways. We're going to do some chip damage, like I was mentioning earlier. This is a good bit of cover here. Reduces line of sight from the champ. Peregrine Grave Strike. That's what's good as well about this, is because whilst I poison the champ, it's doing that extra little bit of damage to make sure that I get to finisher. Whereas, like, as I say, if I had an overshield on Void Shield Bash, then it would outright kill him. But like I say, there's no Void Surge on. If Void Surge was on, I would definitely be using it, but there is no Void Surge. So I just ran solar instead. And there's Revitalize and Blast as well, so it's debuffing them at the very least if they're not killed. So on this first phase of the final island, you can stand here and take out the silence safely. This can only be done now. What happens is, alright, there's a no turn back zone, right? Imagine an invisible field. It pushes up to this island. Right now it hasn't pushed that far. I think it's to do with reses. So say for example you're in a fire team for a GM and somebody dies all the way at the start, their orb will be teleported, right, in stages. That's what I think it's to do with. Hypernet has this also. It has instances where it brings the dead orb, somebody's orb, forward, but this then means there's a no turn back zone as well that's created behind the orb, depending on which GM it is. This is quite a complicated matter, so don't quote me exactly on it, but that's why I think we can't fight on that island all the way back there. After like once you step on this island because of the no turn back zone. So once we take down shield, we were trying to shoulder charge these knights, but I couldn't. Reason being is because I mantled a piece of cover, which messed it all up. So I just used my super to save the run, because I knew that would be a nightmare if I hadn't. If I'd got my shoulder charge off, I probably would have at least killed one of the knights and the other one half HP, which would have been fine. I would have been able to survive that, but because I mantled, it stopped my forward momentum, and therefore the activation of Peregrine Greaves strike is harsh. So if you at least touch the ground or anything, you lose the buff right away. I think it's really harsh, the way that it procs. It should be on a timer. You should get a 5-second timer once you proc it. That's exactly how it should work. It shouldn't be where you know, as soon as you lose momentum or hit the ground, you lose it. It's too harsh, I think. That's going to stop people from using the exotic. And ultimately, they're trying to make you want to use it. That's why they've buffed it 1000%. So they've done that bit right, but they haven't got the activation of the perk right. If I was balancing it, I would have said, right, just give them 5 seconds. Once it procs, after the 2-second timer of sprinting in the air, there should be a timer on the left-hand side saying Peregrine Strike and a 5-second countdown timer. That's more than enough time to get a shoulder charge off, and it's more than enough time to re-correct an error. That's another little buff that they should do to it. Because it is a fun build, there's no doubt. Once the boss gets to the next phase, there's going to be Scions. So I need to prepare myself mentally for that. So we'll do that. The Scions will spawn on the opposite side of the map, which we want them to spawn at the top. So you can control the Scion wave here. I bet people didn't know that, but you can. So we'll pop a healing nade plus machine gun. That's what I was on about before, about the old machine gun versus rocket debate. Unless it's Galahorn or Dragon's Breath, that's fair enough. But if we're talking legendary weapon, right, Apex Predators might not kill them all. It might leave some alive. So the machine gun in that instance, and I nearly died as well, is better. That is a critical moment of the GM. Right, Final Phase Island, Scion Wave, and being able just to melt them down with a machine gun is useful to us. I'm going to speed up the footage because I'm farming super. I'm stalling for time. Stalling for time, cheating super regen. What I'm doing here is I'm shooting the boss. He's immune, but you're getting super energy off him. Or her. Not sure. Right, look. I'm getting super regen off the boss. So I'm going to do that. Right, I'm going to do that. It's not like one-to-one exactly how it would be on a unshielded target, but it's still something. And I want my super for Final Phase to guarantee it. This will guarantee for players if you're maybe going to struggle at the end, because we haven't got a... This loadout's good at the ad clears part, the Scion Waves. You know, captains it's even good for, but it's not that good against the boss. This loadout requires you having your super, especially on the final wave. So what I'm going to do is use my super on the final captains, which if I hadn't used my super earlier, then I obviously would have had it, but the plan didn't go exactly... it didn't go to plan exactly, did it? So in this case, I just stalled a little bit for time. It was only a quarter of the super bar that I stalled for, to be honest. So we'll go in for the knights. We'll get a shoulder charge. That didn't kill. So there you go. It didn't kill. I might not have proc Peregrine there. But we'll use super there. Then we'll use super on the boss. It's doing two things for us. But now there's no danger because we've isolated me and the boss together, alone, romantic. No captains to be the awkward third. Look at this. Now it's easy. Look, anyone can do this. Even your PvP players can do this. All you need to do is isolate them captains away from that boss, and then you can go on a date with Cydia. You're good. Easy. That was a solo GM on this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.